Hey, and welcome back to 996 Howl. Now, every single team, other than the Coyotes, probably having fun watching the playoffs, but Coyotes fans had to tune in to a City Live debate last night, an hour long. They got a lot of questions filled into that 1 hour. So let's get into it. It was pretty interesting, but honestly, nothing too dramatic. There was just one gotcha moment by the Coyote side, which was hilarious. We'll get to that. But these were the questions. Feel free to read them. I'll go through each one. Going to be a lot of reading. It's really hard to memorize both the yes side and the no side for each of these questions and the rebuttals, opening statements, closing statements. On the Coyote side, it was Javier's our CEO for the Coyotes and Councilman Joel Navarro. Hopefully, I got his name right. Joel Navarro. There was supposed to be someone other than Joel Navarro, but he was hung up at an airport, missed his flight. So, Joel Navarro is sort of like a sub in. Navarro has been a councilman since 2008 and has been reelected 3 times. So I really love that angle of you had the Arizona Coyotes CEO and an actual Tempe councilman. So it was a great 1-2 punch of here's a private developer who has a great relationship with the city, and the city also wants us to move forward. On the opposition, you had, a pretty aging lady who owns a secondhand bookstore, and then, a fiery woman who was really against this project, who talked most of the time other than her partner. She brought up points, which I don't think, were good, but she brought up a lot of points. Try to, attack, not really hostily attack, but provide counter arguments against the Coyotes. It's pretty non-hostile debate, no real words slinged at each other. It's pretty calm, to be honest. Joel got a bit frustrated, but, he kept his cool. Javier, as always, calm, cool, collective. Love hearing this guy talk. I think that's the only way I'm surviving through these council meetings, debates. Is just Javier is very, very well spoken and just makes you feel good. He's a good PR guy and front-facing public figure for the Coyotes, as opposed to Alex Morello, who they kind of like maybe not good for public perception for whatever reasons. But Javier is a great business partner to Alex Morello. We'll get to the opening statements. The opposition, the reason for them saying no is that the entertainment district infringes on the lifestyle of Tempe residents. They're worried about traffic. They think money should go towards homelessness and school funding. And they're worried that the Coyotes are presenting a lot of half-truths. And for them, a half-truth equals a lie. For the Coyotes, all the good stuff, creating almost 7,000 jobs, $40 million deposit, non-refundable the moment shovels hit the ground and the vote goes through. A mixed-use entertainment district. It's not just for a professional hockey team. Generates $7 million of revenue per year for the next 30 years to Tempe, where they could use it for whatever, just like, homelessness and public schooling and traffic and roads. So all that good stuff I've already talked to at length, the pros to building this district. So the first question was, why is this deal good for Tempe? Sort of basically like the opening statements, the Coyotes from dirt to landfill. What was a very important thing they said here, the Coyotes side did, was that this is a mixed use variety district, a mixed diversity district, if you will. And they have reports, independently sourced reports, that mixed use diversity entertainment districts are able to come out of economic downturns better than just single use, primary focused entertainment districts. Like, let's say it was only the arena, then yes, this would be most likely a bad deal, because in economic downturns, which we just saw 2-3 years ago, that doesn't bode well in economic downturns. So I never really talked about that. First time hearing the word, mixed use diversity, a mixed use diversity space. So it's like a hockey arena, music venue, apartment complexes, shopping centers, restaurants. It's all of that. So that was a great point by the Coyotes, just to hit it off strong, and shows they've done their homework. The no side was saying it's too good to be true. Talk about homeless, schools, and traffic again. And they also were very adamant throughout this whole debate, the no side, that taxpayers' dollars are going to be used and there's tax subsidies, and it's not true that there's no taxpayers' dollars at risk. That was an ongoing, trend and theme throughout this whole debate that the Coyotes had to continue to debunk. So the rebuttal by the Coyotes when the opposition said, what about tax subsidies and taxpayer dollars? Coyotes say no taxpayer dollars. And the subsidy that the opposition was referencing was the giblet, which I described in that myth busting video. A giblet is a well-used resource tool. 37 developments in Tempe itself use this tool. It's a very common tool in the state of Arizona. It's a state of Arizona resource tool. You get basically a deal on land just so that you could remediate the land and get your development up and running quicker. It's not like you get it for free, you just delay the actual property tax cost. Instead of using actual property tax per square feet, they just have their own legislative tax and excise tax used instead, and the cows will pay that off over a lot of years. And that is true, but any development that's going to build on this land is going to use that resource tool because almost everywhere else in Tempe uses the same resource tool. So that was kind of what the opposition hung on, but Coyotes had a great rebuttal for that. We'll go to the next question. Will tax dollars be used to eliminate debt? Again, no taxpayers are at risk. It's all on the backs of the Arizona Coyotes. Whatever future debt gets accumulated, it's all on the Coyotes. This entertainment development district is not on the city of Tempe's balance sheet. So Coyotes just have to continue to reiterate that throughout the whole debate. The opposition said the studies that the Coyotes have used, which the Coyotes always reference this ASU study to show the economic benefits of a mixed diversity entertainment complex. Other things like future projections of revenue and jobs created were all done by ASU, and the opposition says that it's a conflict of interest because the Coyotes play in the ASU hockey arena. But to be honest, ASU is not just a hockey arena. It's a whole big organization with a number of sports, and they don't even focus on just sports. There's so many other things that ASU does. They're a big proponent and big contributor to the city of Tempe. They reside in the city of Tempe. So if anything, ASU being a Tempe, resident should hold more weight. But the opposition says it's not independent, conflict of interest. You should wash away those studies. Next one is the land currently costs Tempe resources. Why not develop it with the Tempe Entertainment District? So right now, the city of Tempe hires waste management workers. There's police around. There's security because of mulch fires that have been happening. So the no side, the yes side, the Coyotes say it's a designated landfill, it's toxic. The opposition says there's no fact that there are toxins in this dump that's been there for 70 years, which honestly, it's like a moot point because you can't have a dump sitting there for 70 years and say there's absolutely no toxins. It just depends what toxins are you talking about. Like the Coyotes said, the groundwater is compromised. The councilman, Joe Navarro, also referenced a previous project back in like 2007 where they wanted to develop a biodome and an agricultural vegetation complex, and they couldn't really go through with it because the groundwater was compromised. And also, there have been no real proposals since 1996 for this site. We'll get into that for one of these. That was also a big point that I haven't heard before. So yeah, the Coyotes rebuttal, they agree. They say yes, there have been no formal tests to determine what toxins are at the dump. But it's just common sense. If there's a dump that's been sitting there that has catched on fire, like garbage catching on fire is literally a toxin. It's literally like methane gas and what have you. So it's hard to really agree with the opposition there. Like, yes, obviously they're not going to bring scientists to test the land, but it's common sense. If you have a land dump there for decades that catches on fire regularly, there's going to be toxins there. So we'll go to the next one. Is this a net drain or a net gain? The opposition has been referencing this whole debate, this Grand Canyon Institute study that's claims that this entertainment district is going to be a net drain for Tempe, whereas the Coyotes present the ASU study, which says it's going to be a net gain. So the mediator, Arizona Central or Republic, says which is it? And the Coyotes say the Grand Canyon Institute report is not independent. There's people on the opposition that were involved in this study and asked questions for this study. And also the Coyotes say that this study only focused on the arena. All their projected revenues were just the arena. It totally ignored the apartment revenues, the restaurant revenues, the music venue revenues, and the restaurant shopping center revenues, and anything else they develop inside of that. So that was the Coyotes' rebuttal. Like, you can't project revenues and only take one piece of the district, let's say 1/3, and ignore the other 2/3. The opposition says that, again, the ASU study is a conflict of interest because the Coyotes play at Mullet Arena, which is an ASU hockey team site. History with Glendale was brought up. This was a very quick one. It's kind of been just established and proven numerous times, so that's why the Coyotes didn't spend a lot of time on it. Glendale wanted the Coyotes to stay in Glendale for 30 years. The moment Alex Morello bought the team, he told the city of Glendale, I'm moving out to Tempe. That's my goal. That's my long-term plan. Glendale didn't like that. So the Coyotes have been on a year-to-year lease. Even before Alex Morello bought the team, I'm pretty sure. They've been on a year-to-year lease. Finally, Glendale, didn't like that the Coyotes were leaving, didn't want to sign a long-term contract for 25, 30 years, didn't like that they were housing a team that was building a competing entertainment district. So they ended the deal, the year-to-year deal, and so that's what happened. The opposition said Glendale was frustrated through the whole tenure of having the Coyotes. The city of Glendale told the opposition you should be worried about letting them come into your city. And this is where the opposition brought up Alex Morello's reputation, that he's being sued in California, Nevada, and Miami, and that kind of goes into the sixth question where what's wrong with having a billionaire develop this piece of land. So the opposition really hung their hat on that Alex Morello is corrupt and being sued in those 3 states I mentioned, but they really focused on the Florida, Miami lawsuit, where one of the buildings owned by the Morello family was not kept up with repairs and maintenance and had to be torn down at the cost of the city of Miami. They really went in on that, and then the rebuttal for the Coyotes were, that's not Alex Morello, and whoever that Morello isn't involved in this project, so do your research better. That was the gotcha moment. That made me laugh. And from then on, I kind of just ignored what the opposition said. But yeah, the opposition also said the credit rating for Alex Morello in the Grand Canyon Institute said it was a moderate to high risk to lend money to Alex Morello. The Coyotes come back. They've had independent studies and independent reports saying that the Coyotes are well within their right and well within their financial means to go through with this project. Alex Morello is involved with, gambling services, the food industry, the radio and media industry, the property industry. He's in, so many industries that are heavily regulated. This is not a corrupt guy. He has to go by the books in each of these industries, because each of these industries are heavily regulated industries. You can't do whatever you want, on the radio or in food services. So that was a Coyotes, rebuttal to that there. And then question 7, if not this development, what? And at this point, I just really was like, this opposition has no leg to stand on. This opposition had no alternatives for this Tempe Entertainment District. And that made me upset. If you don't like it and you don't want it to go through, come up with some alternatives. Like, voice your opinion on what should happen. All they were hanging their hat on was, we don't like it, go back to the drawing board with community involvement. And from there, the councilman got frustrated, Joe Navarro, because literally a billionaire is coming here. The billionaire is paying his own money to clean up this landfill that's been sitting there for decades. They've had no proposals for this piece of land for over 20 years, since the Coyotes came to Arizona in 1996. And so this is like the perfect, proposal to move forward with. And the opposition is like, we don't like it, do something else. And that if you go back to the drawing board and get community involvement involved, the community is going to be all about, good issues like homelessness, public schools, roads. Those are good issues, but they're going to cost money. No private institution is going to come in and help save the homeless for a city. That's a city problem. No private institution is going to come in and save the schooling funding problem for a city. That's a city problem. And what money does a city have? The taxpayers' dollars. So it really doesn't make sense there. The Coyotes reiterate that the city of Tempe is going to get revenue from this site, $7 million per year for 30 years, and the city can do whatever they want with that money. So any concerns the community has could be solved with this revenue that gets generated year by year. So at this point, I'm like, this really doesn't make sense. They just don't want it to happen for the sake of happening. They really don't understand how this is such a good deal for the city. The city of Tempe voted a unanimous 7-0. Literally 90% of former council members and former mayors dating back over 20 years ago are all for this project. There's only one former council member in Tempe that is against this project. So, the opposition keeps saying, listen to the city, listen to the people. Well, if the city council unanimously voted 7-0, those are democratically elected officials. Just your opposition is someone who's been reelected 3 times since 2008. This is the people. This is the elected officials. This is the people of Tempe. If you basically break that, trust down, there's no point in having elected officials. The elected officials are there to support what the people want. So the last 2 questions, Phoenix lawsuit. They brought up, the city of Phoenix is suing the city of Tempe. How does this affect the city of Tempe? Are they going to have to pay bills? Is a court going to delay this project? Is the court going to drop this project? The Coyotes say the lawsuit is against the Coyotes. It has nothing to do with the city of Tempe. Javier reiterated that this lawsuit has no legs to stand on. No court is going to go against already approved zoning laws. The purpose of the lawsuit by the city of Phoenix was that they don't want the city of Tempe to develop near Sky Harbor flight paths, and they want to sunset the intergovernmental agreement which says both cities can't develop on certain parts of land, because the city of Phoenix wants to develop even closer to Sky Harbor, and right now they have buildings currently residing closer to Sky Harbor's flight path than this proposed deal. So Javier was just saying this is all political posturing. There's no leverage here. It's not going to go through, and that's why the Coyotes countersued, just to stop their bullying. They're all approved by the flight industry. I forget the regulation board there, the FAA. It's all regulated. All the apartment buildings are up to the right decibel levels. They've done their homework. The Coyotes did. They gotta tell residents who buy the properties. They have to disclaim that the decibel level could reach these heights. They have to install soundproof windows and walls to reduce the decibels. That's all in the proposal. They've all done their homework. FAA approved this project. The opposition says noise will be an issue. Again, there's planes going over Phoenix already, even over the stadium, the baseball stadium. Downtown Phoenix has so many new condos now, and planes fly over there to go to Sky Harbor. So again, it's really a moot point at that, and it's all been proven last year at the council meeting already. So I really don't understand why the opposition continues to bring these issues up that have been proven wrong with studies, with facts, with the wishes and trust from regulated bodies. So it boggles the mind there. Last question, will taxpayers ever be on the hook? Pretty redundant question. Coyotes reiterate, they'll never be on the hook. It's all on the Arizona Coyotes. It's on their backs. So that was it. I think the closing statements, Coyotes say Tempe is our home. They've already invested $30 million in Mullet Arena to stay in Tempe. They're not going to leave. They're not going to build this development and leave and let the city deal with it. Once the arena is approved, they sign a 30-year clause with the NHL, so they're for sure staying there for 30 years. So I don't understand why the opposition thinks this organization doesn't like Tempe or is against Tempe. This organization wants to develop Tempe with the Tempe council members all the way through, and it's just a win-win for both teams. The opposition said issues will arise that'll, plague Tempe, the city of Tempe. They want to go back to a drawing board. We're giving up so much for so little, which didn't make sense to me. The taxpayers aren't giving up anything and they're just gaining everything. And then they said there's no such thing as a free lunch, no such thing as a free arena. But, this is the case. This is, a billionaire putting his own money on the line, almost $2 billion to develop this piece of land and to give an economic boom to the city of Tempe and make it a world-class city. If the opposition doesn't like the traffic or the tourists, the Tempe Town Lake currently is one of the most visited sites in Arizona anyways, so you got tourists already. You're just, maybe funnel them into a hockey arena, then you don't have to see 17, 18,000 of those people walking on the streets because they'll be inside watching an arena. So that's it. I hope everyone's enjoying the playoffs. The vote is May 16th, so obviously I'll give an update May 17th or maybe a live reaction right after the vote. But yeah, pretty good debate. I think the Coyotes did really well. The council member, Joe Navarro, seemed a bit heated but kept his cool, and he was very stern and blunt, which I liked. And it was a great, sort of back and forth and partnership between the Coyotes and a council member for the city of Tempe. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.